are always trying to say you're not this or you're not that. And they really they find part. And that's why I was asking, when you guys talk about culture and you're talking about literature and books, there are those who get bothered, especially where I've been. If I have a book in my hand, you would say, hey, you would probably come up and say, hey, Ty, what are you reading? Mm-hmm. These guys wouldn't do that. No. Damn, Shipp, you reading a book, man? Yeah. The fuck?
It's the old Bill Hicks bit.
You read them.
What you reading for?
Not
what are you reading? What are you reading for? So I don't be confused.
And being an idiot is embraced.
It is the Dark Ages. What we are looking at here are the Dark Ages. They're back, and there will be, if we don't destroy ourselves, there will be one day an enlightenment where these things again, where nuance and conversation and
there may be, but I think a big part. I think a big part, and not the entirety of the issue, but there's a certain victim mentality that a lot of people have.
Oh my God.
And whether it's manifesting itself in all of a sudden everybody's gluten intolerant, or what we're seeing. I mentioned the primaries at the beginning of the show, and one of the big issues here in California on the ballot, I don't remember what part, I guess up north, but the judge who gave a 6-month sentence to Brock Turner
he
was recalled.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing, on NPR, I'm hearing defense attorneys saying, oh, this is a horrible, this is a slippery slope. This is going to lead judges to increase sentences drastically so they're not being seen as weak on crime. And if you, as an attorney, cannot see the difference between generally being light on crime and giving a rapist 6 months in jail, it's one of those things.
But he was part of Stanford. Okay, he was an alum, and he was caught in the act. The guys had to yank the dude off of her.
Yes. Yeah. And no one voted that guy out of office because he had a tendency to be light on crime.
Right.
He was probably considered to be a good judge, and the people who defended him said he was a good judge. However, he gave 6 months to somebody who, as we said, was caught raping behind a dumpster.
He shoved gravel and pine needles up her vagina.
Yes.
There's we need no further.
No. And wait a minute, it wasn't just one guy pulling. There were a few people trying to pull this guy off of her. Okay, so he was clearly. And wait a minute, they weren't black guys. They were people just like him who said, "Hey, dude, you're wrong. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And they tried to beat him, and they beat the crap out of him too. It's like, "Hey, fucker, you."
Right, but it's the lack of nuance that allows someone who is allegedly educated to make that leap from, no, you cannot give a 6-month sentence to a brutal rapist just because he's on the swim team at Stanford, to, now everybody's going to think judges are light on crime, so the judges are just going to be draconian in their sentencing now.
Well, we have to understand. We have to understand that we did have highly educated scientists who were looking at the brains of black people and said that black people were stupid.
Yeah, and we have doctors on TV saying that cigarettes are good for you.
I mean, just to skew towards the judges thing and draconian. Well, I mean, we're looking at another, I think, 40 years of this because obviously, Trump is replacing judges at an astonishing rate. He's loading up the courts with really conservative judges, and those are lifelong seats. And he's doing it with guys who are on average 10 years younger. Mm-hmm. He's appointed as many in his first term first year as Obama has done and did in his whole.
And he's hoping that the idiots who were happy that he started letting black people out. Ooh, who else can I pardon? Ooh.
Yeah.
And who are paying attention to this. Now, those of us who think outside the box can see from a distance and go, okay, this guy must think, hey, no, dude, you're not going to sell people on that. But the dumbasses who believe, who only can see what's in front of them, they're going to buy it. And they're going to buy it hook, line, and sinker, and they're going to be right there.
One of whom we're in his bedroom. Anyway. Enough said.
Explosion. But yes, it's desperate. I feel that it's done. Is there a better topic, or is there any good?
Moving on.
Have we discussed it?
Hit us with another one, David.
We've done suicide. We've done.
It was mostly painless.
Yeah.
Let's talk summits. We briefly discussed the G7 and Trump alienating us, and I think as before the Me Too movement started up, but that has definitely brought it to the forefront. We are learning so much as a culture about abusive relationships and what happens when you are in one. Is America at some point going to realize we are in an abusive relationship? And how are we going to get out of it?
Well, the thing with like if you're dealing with say a woman who's in an abusive relationship and you're telling them, he hit you, he did this, he did that, and they justify when they're, still within it, right? And, you try to explain to Trump voters, I think that's what he's talking about, he's not helping you. He's not improving your life. Yeah. Your life was improved more during the Obama years. Yes, the economy's going great for now,
because that's the afterburn
and they just justify that he doesn't release his tax forms. That doesn't matter. Nothing matters to them.
Yeah,
because
that
they
he
have
called
the
Obama,
image.
but he's still saying that he still has people believing Obama is a Muslim, and he's not born here.
And thousands believe that Trump was put in place by Jesus Christ. I mean, that's
willful ignorance. Willful ignorance.
So it's hard to help him.
If he was put in place by Jesus Christ, I'm pretty sure that guy isn't a citizen. So maybe he was onto something with all these millions of illegal voters.
That was an illegal vote.
Well, there is a guy roaming through Texas and Arizona. He's a Hispanic dude, and he was on the Today Show years ago. It said, "How you doing? I'm Jesus Christ." And he talks like Elvis, but he has it, and people are selling their homes. They're giving this guy
think it's
money.
Really him.
Oh my God! And he's got some damn good cowboy boots on. Let me tell you, those cowboy boots that Buddy's wearing.
Nice.
But he said, "How you doing? I'm Jesus Christ," and they suck it up, man.
I mean, Christianity in America just feels just so bankrupt at this point, and
it's
empty.
More now than ever.
Critical.
The top.
I mean, whatever it started out as, it is not anymore.
Oh, hey, your name is Dollar, and you can ask your congregation for a $64 million jet and get it.
Yeah.
Because who's the white dude now that's saying that he
there's
needs
a new minister.
Yeah, he says he can't pray and coach. Doesn't feel he's going to get enough.
He's surrounded by evil people.
Oh,
coach,
right.
And coach. Wow.
Yeah.
So
Infidels?
So evidently he's flown Spirit. The one thing that I mean, there are so many things about this that bother me, but the selective use of the Bible. There's a story that comes to mind about Daniel and the lion's den.
Mm-hmm.
And if Daniel could brave a den full of hungry lions, get your Jesus Bible thumping ass on a fucking plane full of demons and deal with it. Come out stronger on the other side, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Well, you get away.
But I'm not biased.
You get away with it if you don't know your word. That's how that's the old folks used to always say. If you know your word, they can't get you. But if you don't know your word,
what's your word?
The word of the Bible.
The word of the Bible.
Okay.
Pastors would always say, "Know the word."
Yeah.
If faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of the Lord. If you do not know the word, you can't hear the word. So that's why they say that, and that's why people can get taken because he's just a messenger, but they get caught all up in that.
Yeah, it's the selective reading. I studied New Testament in college because of that. The whole idea.
Know your enemy.
Yeah. Well, Jim and I both went to the University of Missouri, and I've talked about this on the show before. There was a group, the Maranatha Baptists, who would get out in Speaker Circle, which is an acoustically, designed area of campus, with their big sandwich board sign that said on one side, John Lennon is burning in hell with Hitler, and on the other side, women submit to thy men. Mm-hmm. And they would get out there and twist the Bible and preach their hatred. And, people would walk through in the middle of their preaching and, say, Jesus was a dreadlocked hippie. And, you get a quick laugh. But that doesn't do anything. I figured, no, these guys are twisting their Bible to spread hatred.
Yeah,
I am not of any Christian faith, but I do know that the man is supposed to be preaching a message of love.
He's supposed to be love.
And so the only way to beat these guys at their game, rather than hitting them with rational thought in the form of Jesus was a dreadlocked hippie, hit them back with the Bible. If they want to say, oh, well, it says, stone the homosexuals. Well, it also says you can't eat shrimp.
But again, I say willful ignorance.
Yeah.
It's not.
It was the only way.
Never about
it was the only way for the slave to figure out he was being hoodwinked was when he learned how to read. And once he gained that knowledge, he says, oh, and now mind you, the white man even said, I knew eventually you'd figure out what the fuck I'm doing. But by the time you figure it out, I'm going to be so far ahead, you won't know. And I got the minions to do my work because I didn't want you guys to come together to become the strongest political party ever. So I got them to do it. So that's how they,
But speaking of the minions doing the work of the master.
Yeah.
When the Supreme Court this week overturned the decision about the baker in Colorado who claimed that his faith, which again, supposed to be love, based on love, turn the other cheek, take the stranger in, good Samaritan, blah, 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 all this. But his particular brand of the faith says that you can't make cakes for homosexuals who want to get married. And we saw this a few years ago when the Supreme Court decided that, the southern states, we don't need to watch their elections. They've learned their lesson over time.
Yeah.
They've evolved.
That was a great
And as
day.
soon as that was struck down, like 3 states immediately more gerrymandering and voter suppression. So immediately after the Supreme Court decided that, this guy doesn't have to make cakes for anyone if he doesn't want to, you had a representative from South Dakota who said that if people don't want to serve people of color in their business, they shouldn't have to. There was another guy who put a no gays allowed sign on his front door.
The hardware salesman, I just want to, since we're talking about the Supreme Court, it's still in theaters. I recommend anybody see RBG.
Loved it.
Fantastic
movie.
And speaking of the decision you were just talking about, I typed out one of the quotes from the movie, which is her quoting Ruth Bader Ginsburg quoting her dissent. Because when they made that decision to basically gut the Voting Rights Act, her response was, throwing out preclearance when it has worked and is continuing to work is to work to stop discriminatory changes is like throwing away your umbrella in a rainstorm because you are not getting wet. And that's how
really good.
Dumb, Robertson, right? Robertson?
Roberts.
Judge Roberts,
Chief
you have
Justice,
a bunch
sadly.
of white, upper class fucks.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know that racism against blacks isn't a thing because I've never experienced it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why would you?
Wait
a minute.
It's like I've had plenty of people call me Hebe, Jew boy, and kike, but no one's ever called me the N-word. So the racism against
That's
blacks,
not a thing.
that's nothing.
Yeah.
The guy, one of the guys that comes to my cigar lounge, he said to me, "Hey, Ty, I saw you post that thing about that reparations and everything, Ty. Those people are dead. They don't deserve that money. They don't deserve any money. They're already dead." Oh, okay. So they're gone? So no need for reparations? No. Let's let that go. Really, that slavery thing, that's long gone. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no ripples in the water after that stone was dropped.
No.
Ask him if he inherited any money from his family, and where did that money come from? Oh, so your ancestors were paid for the work they did. Yeah. I'm more and more on board with the reparations.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, you saw what George Washington University is letting those family members that were they get free college.
They could.
Yeah.
As
awesome.
they should.
Yeah.
And I think that's, one of the things, reparations, maybe not necessarily in the form of cash payments, which, hey, it'd be nice, but there are systems such as affirmative action that are set up not by name as reparations, but that recognize that there's an existing and persistent problem.
Watch it, Dave. You get
that
in trouble
needs to
for
be
that.
dealt with.
You'll get in trouble.
I care. if my fuck you stump speech wasn't enough to keep me out of office,